Hey, it's the Mama's Den.
Hey.
Codie here.
Ashley here.
Melanie.
No, Ashley.
Ashley, because Felicia's missing, so we have to say it with 3 syllables.
Yeah.
Ashley.
Ashley.
Ashley. And today we have a special guest, and something just occurred to me. So I'm going to introduce our special guest as my best friend of 20 years? 20-ish years?
Oh, wow.
Okay, here's the thing, though. We look a lot alike, and we know that. Folks, y'all can't see that. But when we became friends, we had a lot of mutual friends. And after like a few months, we also realized, Crystal doesn't know this yet, because I forgot, that we also sound alike.
Yeah, they do.
And one time, multiple times, we've heard the other on a voicemail and been like, I don't remember saying that. So we're going to have to introduce ourselves a lot. Like, you're going to have to be like,
Okay.
this is Kimberly. Not in that voice. But anyway, so
Should I be like a deeper voice of myself?
I don't know.
She, to me,
Crystal's
I
gonna
don't know.
kill
Maybe
us.
it's my musical ear. She has a much deeper, raspier tone than
But
you.
Well,
when you call them on the phone, I called
she literally talked to
Codie
us.
on the phone and she was talking and I was like, wait, who's talking right
So
now?
let's just assume the audience has the ear
Correct.
of
But I'm Kimberly.
Melanie and Crystal.
No, she got that husk. I know this.
Great.
Well, girl, we know
I'll
you a
keep it
singer. You
high.
can hear all the tones.
I can hear all the husks.
That's why you can sing. And we can't. That's why we can't.
I'll keep my voice high.
Now the listeners will say the same. Like,
Yeah.
be like, oh, no, I hear that husky.
Great.
You do
Love
have
that.
a little
You
bit
guys,
of a husk. It's
you
cute.
guys
Very
speak
sexy.
the same though.
I believe it.
Yeah.
You
That's probably it.
pronounce words the same.
Yeah,
but
they do.
Tone sounds
Probably.
completely different.
Okay.
So
We'll let the audience be the judge.
yeah, right. They'll be like, who is talking right now?
Talking.
So I don't even know where to begin. I feel like there's so many things to say.
You have to say Codie here talking.
I did. I said Codie. Oh,
We would've
every
went
time.
back to you.
No, Melanie said I didn't have to.
Oh. What does
This is
Crystal
Codie.
say?
So yeah, I don't even know. Like, we have so many things. Like, we can talk about how we met, all that jazz. But I will just launch by saying that part of the reason that I wanted Kim here is because we are all quacky, creative people. Not that she's not creative, but she is in this corporate life. And motherhood in corporate America is like a whole nother thing.
That's true.
And so I wanted to make sure we had a little representation today. But outside of that, we can talk about whatever. you know?
Okay.
Thank you
So-
for having me.
Yeah, well, introduce yourself and say how many children you have and what do you do for
Yeah.
fun?
So I what do I do for fun? That's very loaded now as a mom. So I'm Kimberly, as Codie said, Codie's best friend for 20 plus years at this point. I'm also an avid fan of the Mama's Den. So I am excited to have been invited to join you all today. Felicia, we miss you. So to Codie's point, I am a mom of one, primarily because I'm a corporate America working mom, and more than one was just I couldn't thug that out, to be very honest. So it's been fun. My husband and I live in Dallas, Texas.
Sophia is
five, and she's a Sagittarius. And
We're gonna pray for you.
She's a bundle of joy and work and fun and all of the things. So excited to get into
and y'all
the
had
fellowship
her
today.
after 10 years together.
Yes, we had her after 10 years together. So we were probably dating, I don't know. So Cody introduced me to my husband.
Oh, I
She
didn't
was
know
responsible for
that.
my
I didn't
entire
know
life.
that.
She's a matchmaker?
Yes.
Oh,
So
That's cute.
shout out Cody, the matchmaker. So we dated for quite a while, long distance. He was in DC and I was in New York, and we were doing that like bolt bus, whatever thing you do.
The Chinatown.
Chinatown bus, bolt bus. I mean, I rode the bolt bus because that was a little more
okay.
luxurious.
Is it $20?
But
Remember when that was $20? I wonder what it is
Yeah.
now.
Oh my God, Chia took the Chinatown bus to see me once in New
Yeah.
York.
Did it come from Columbus?
Yes. No,
Oh,
yes,
wow.
it comes from Columbus because it was
Yeah, it
cheaper
comes
than
from, like, all
flying.
over.
That's my husband.
Of course it was.
Sorry,
Yes.
go ahead.
No,
Bus.
same. My
That's a long
husband
time.
did the
Is it
same.
cheap like that?
He,
Okay.
I would take the Sella train every once in a while and splurge. He would never.
Yeah.
But we finally decided that at some point we were gonna need to be in the same place. And once we did, he jumped on that thing and he like proposed.
He
and,
did.
Oh.
We it took a while from the time
What
we
was it,
started
5
dating.
years?
I think it was like 5 years.
Okay.
So then we got married relatively quickly. It took like 9 months to plan the
Oh,
wedding
yeah.
and get married.
That is fast.
But then we kind of just like chilled. We enjoyed, being married. My husband wasn't convinced that he was going to like be a good parent / want children. So and I was young and I was like, it's fine. I'm not in a rush. And then I was like, I'm now in a rush, at like 34. And so we got pregnant. We had Sophia, and it's been great. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah, she's 5 years old.
So tell me more about what it's like to be married without children. Because I feel like all three of us got with our mans and then got pregnant right away.
That's so true.
We never had I mean,
I didn't.
we all got pregnant relatively quickly into our relationships with our partners, whether we got married because
before or after.
Yeah, both Ashley and I got married after we had kids.
Yeah.
And then
7 years
got
later.
pregnant right away, right?
1 year.
Right.
1 year
Max.
into your marriage. So
I think it was.
What is that like?
How was that?
Was it fun?
Tell us what that's
do
like.
you do every day?
God, how much vacationing did you do?
Right.
Well, it was a lot of fun. We kind of went everywhere. When our friends were doing something, we were up and out.
Yeah.
We kind of moved around. We focused a lot on our career.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of those 5 years being married was very focused on like climbing that corporate ladder or checking that resume building box that you always felt like, wait, what's the next thing that I need to do? I mean, it was really awesome to just have that income and just us.
Yeah.
So like dual income, no kids was really fabulous. But it was also very selfish. So I think the tide turned, honestly, was like, okay, this is all great. We're not lacking fulfillment, but we're also not necessarily contributing to what at least I felt something meaningful, like a child, like raising a child together and that kind of next level of partnership. I will say, having had our daughter after being together for 5 years, it's been incredibly disruptive to our relationship, right? So like we had an established like norms, ways of working from a relationship perspective. It was just us. I could super focus on him. He could super focus on me. Logistically, we didn't have to necessarily think about what that does to our, dynamics working wise. So once we had her, I think we were not prepared for this disruption that would bring to our like relationship.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was great. Let me tell you.
I can imagine. My best friend Nalo always says that too. It's funny. Our best friends are very similar. She had the similar life as you, where it was her and her husband were married for like 5 or 6 years.
Oh wow!
Prior to having children, it was just them, and all they did was travel and have fun and kick it. And look at me and Chia sadly like,
did you guys find a babysitter yet?
We're going to Jamaica.
Yeah. We'll send some sand back for you. They had to build a sandbox for your baby.
They were kicking it, and then they had 2 kids somewhat back to back, but she always says that like their relationship is so different now that they have children and like they miss it sometimes where they could just be them. And again, we don't know that because my whole entire relationship has been me being a mother. Like literally we didn't have a kid for 3 months of our relationship. Then I got pregnant. So then it was like me being pregnant or us having a child. So I always wonder too, like what I don't, like what does that mean to wake up and it just be you and your partner and like y'all just do whatever you want to do? Cause now when that happens, I'm gonna be damn near in my 50s. And then it's like, somebody gonna have a baby and I'm gonna be a grandma. Like, like it's over for me. It's never gonna be alone.
I mean, I do envy though. Like I'll see, with Codie or other friends of ours that have kind of like, that got married and jumped right into being parents. Like there's a certain level of like, synchronization that they're in their partnership they're in. And I know, watching it, it's just like, it feels like natural. Almost it appears
okay
natural.
Yeah.
Because you're forced into teamwork right away.
Correct.
Outside of just being 2 people coexisting, you're forced into teamwork working on the same project, which is children, which does create, I think, a level of teamwork.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't have to
Sometimes.
I mean, we hope, right?
Sometimes.
Yes.
Because everybody's not in sync.
It doesn't mean you're good teammates.
Yeah.
Yeah, word.
But
it
you are
is.
forced to have to try to be teammates.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
wait.
agree.
But also you mentioned, like, this is Codie, by the way. No husk, they tell me. You mentioned like you guys were focused on career.
Yeah.
And then you have this baby.
Yeah.
So how did that impact you in particular? Like Melanie, for example, there was a lot of change that came with being pregnant. Like this was like, I don't know if the industry is going to accept me.
Right.
Like for you, is it as simple as like, I get pregnant, I take maternity leave, I live my best life or not?
Well,
Not
wouldn't
that
know.
dance.
I wouldn't know.
You know, that's what I expected, to be very honest. I was like, you see from the outside looking in, other women in your environment, you know, getting pregnant, having kids, going on maternity leave, coming back, and, you know, you're backfilling certain people during that time and whatnot. But when it happened, you know, for me, what I thought was really interesting is that I was on a very fast-paced trajectory before getting pregnant, right? I was killing it. Like, I felt like I had a high output at work and lots of success and results. And, you know, I did that while I was pregnant too. You know, like I was like moving and shaking. I was very blessed to have like an easier pregnancy than a harder pregnancy. But when I came back from maternity leave, like physically, I was just different. I was so much more tired, and I was just, you know, stretched in so many different ways physically, but then also like emotionally, my priorities shifted, right? Because I was much more aware of like
time
and what the demands of my time were.
Yeah.
So if I wanted a promotion, or if I wanted to even work on this cool project that was going to take me to, you know, a major industry event, like, you know, I remember working on something that was like, the culmination of it would have been an Oscars like activation. And I was like, oh my God, let's go to the Academy Awards. And like what we were going to do was be real fun. But then I was like, geez, that's going to mean I'm in LA, you know, multiple times leading up to that, away from my very small baby.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Not that we need like name and address, but what do you do for a living?
I was going to ask you, like, you a CIA girl? Because you have eluded that part.
and then my second question was, how long did you have for maternity leave before you came back?
Oh, okay.
Okay, those are both. I'm happy to answer those. So I'm a marketing executive. I work with a Fortune 50 publicly traded company in marketing. So I help support brands across our portfolio. We have multiple brands in our portfolio in their marketing initiatives. So I'm currently hyper focused in a space I love, but at the time I had Sophia, I was focused on brand communications and PR.
Okay.
So it was a very like always on job.
Yeah.
Super fun though. And then for maternity leave, I had at the time 12 weeks.
Oh, that's nice.
That was offered by the company. Like that is a great perk of being in a company that size. The maternity leave, you know, benefits are typically very, you know, generous and, you know, structured also, right? Like everybody, you know what you're going to get. You know, they offer paternity leave as well.
Oh, nice.
Now it's parental leave. I took additional time off. So I in total was off of work for about 4.5 months. If I had to do it again, I would take more.
Yeah.
Like if you can take more, take your time.
Or move to Canada.
Frame of reference.
Correct.
Oh, go ahead.
I would just like to say that maternity leave is a guaranteed year.
Yeah, I was
in
about to
Canada.
say, I have no frame of reference, but you saying 12 weeks, 3 months is generous. Noted. But I was thinking about my friend who worked at Netflix and she took a year.
Yeah.
I mean,
most people only get 6 weeks.
Most
That's
people
the
only
average
get 6
American
weeks.
6
Wow.
weeks.
The average mom
and
gets
you have to
6
work
weeks,
a job,
which is
for
nuts.
a while.
Nuts.
Yeah.
And that's not everyone. It's like you have to have been at that job for like
You're not
2
even,
to 3, 4, 5 years.
You said you came back at 4 months and you were like, I just felt like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
At 6
Can
weeks,
you imagine?
6 weeks, my body was still. You're not even cleared to have sex until 6 weeks,
girl.
And there's
You're not even
the same
and then how to
size.
find childcare for your kids. I will never understand America, but that's another question.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Girl.
so you were saying that you were, you know, everything was high charged, and now you have to consider.
Yes.
I'd have to be in LA
and I actually had to really reflect. You know, Codie and I had many conversations during this time that I had to reflect on, like, you know, for the majority of my adult life, my career was the massive part of my existence and my goal setting and, you know, what I was spending my time to achieve.
Yeah.
And I had to really reflect and be like, gosh, I could still do that, but I will likely be miserable. Full transparency, tried to figure out how to do it in some balance and failed and left the company that I work at now for a year. Like left at the time when Sophia was, I think she was almost 3.
Yeah. This is a good point because I totally forgot that. Like I knew you left, but I couldn't I forgot that was the reason.
Oh, you left and then came back?
I left and came back. So I left because I was like, I just can't cut it. It is a fast-paced, demanding environment. A lot of incredibly talented, focused, determined people that I'm working alongside. And I just felt like I was drowning in trying to be everything to everyone. And as we all know, at that age, your child's going to daycare, getting sick. I'd been on a work trip and my child was sick, and I left her knowing she was sick, and I felt horrible about it.
Yeah.
And I flew back because my husband was like, hey, I kind of do think she needs to go to the urgent care emergency room. So I flew back early, took her. She had like mild pneumonia. She was fine. But that was like a turning point.
That's
I was like,
scary.
I'm over here trying to like figure out how to work.
Yeah.
Mind you, thank goodness for other moms at work, because I will say every woman from VP, SVP that I worked with in that moment where I like, go home, be with your kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one made me, it was just my own
thing.
Being in that environment. And so it was great because I left for a year. And during that year, I had time to reflect and kind of think about what were those things that I was induced versus truly the environment or being being projected on me.
And you took another job. You didn't leave and chill at home.
Oh
no, I wish
she sought out a job that was obviously fit her qualifications, but was like less demanding, or at least perceived. That was
okay. Because I was going to ask that if you just took a sabbatical, but you were still working. You were
I
need something less demanding.
But during that time, it was a gift because I did. Yeah. I left work at 3:00 and took Sophia to swim lessons. And did some things that like I knew weren't going to be an option. And I was able to kind of reset. And when I decided to go back, I chose a team, a role, a time frame. We are in this post-COVID situation. There's a hybrid scenario, remote work. You're not traveling as much. So it all fit better.
Tell me if I'm describing this wrong, but like you left a corporate job for a high-profile nonprofit.
Correct.
Right? So already different structure, and then back to corporate.
Correct.
Okay. And when you came back to corporate, you were able to negotiate better terms that fit your lifestyle.
Yeah. I mean, I was able to mainly the choices I made around the role, the team, the responsibilities and the expectations suited what I knew my life looked like and needed to look like. Yeah. Right. So I'm not in a PR communications role. Okay. I am in more of a creative strategy, directly tied to brands. So I'm not necessarily having the same demands.
Yeah.
That I would have had in a different role. And that was just kind of necessary for me.
I wonder, because I'm sitting here thinking like there's so many women that don't know if they want to have kids, right? Because they love their career.
Right.
Like now that you've experienced it, like in your mind, what would you say or tell them? Because I feel like that's a big fear. Like, do you feel like it was worth it for you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or because some people will have a child and it doesn't, like how you're like, okay, let me figure out a way to make it work. Some people are like, no, I'm going to send them to daycare and I'm fine with not taking them to soccer, not whatever. Like that's okay for them because their job is like priority. And there's nothing wrong with that, because having children, you really don't know until you have one when you're like, yeah, that was a good idea. Or that was not.
Correct. Yeah.
And your life is your life.
Shouldn't have did that.
However you got to make it work for you, you make it work.
Right. I think my main thing that when I talk to people who are either considering having kids or have not experienced that in the corporate environment is, one, to be really, really clear on the fact that like you can decide what you want this to look like. It will, all of it will have some level of consequence, right? Good or bad, right? In terms of you can decide that I'm going to outsource all of the things that are restricted to my corporate success, my success in work, in my role, in continuing to advance or grow your career. Or you can decide to, off-put some things that are going to advance your corporate career so that you can be present at home. So it's like, it's just, where do you want to be present? I think a lot of times you really have to gut check yourself on what are things that you are perceiving as expectations or demands versus what are real expectations and demands, where you really can have boundaries versus where you think you cannot, like, being deliberate and asking those questions. I will say, like, I'm at a space in my life, and people who work with me would know this, including my leadership, of like, I voice my opinion fearlessly. And I'm kind of like, y'all want me to be here for these reasons, so this is what you're going to get. So when I get, an invite a week out for a 7:30 or 8 a.m. breakfast with leadership, because there's some breakfast event that they're doing before the workday starts, I will be like, y'all know this is hard for working moms, right? Or parents.
I love that.
Have to do drop off.
Yes.
Because I'm literally making a decision on, do I take this opportunity to be around a leadership team that I don't typically get a chance to be around, or do I figure out something that disrupts my daughter's morning to go to school, right? Because she has to be dropped off at school at 8:00.
For sure.
And I think using your voice more is just so critically important, because a lot of times companies are just like rolling.
Yeah, that's Chia. He works in corporate. My husband still works in corporate America. And that is an ongoing issue with us, is me teaching him to create boundaries. Because I understand it's very different when you have to like speak up or say something or create those boundaries. It's harder because, like you said, first of all, there's a high turnover rate, and it's kind of like there's a fear of like, I can easily be replaced. So you don't want to like rock the boat. But I'm like, Chia, when your supervisors, I don't like using the word boss, but your supervisors have availability.
Right.
You can have availability too.
Right.
You can literally say, I am not available at this time. Like, we have to find a different time. Like, he's had that struggle as a parent, trying to find a way to like speak up for himself and create those boundaries, because it's so different. Like with me in influencing, I'm like, I can or can't, whatever, it doesn't matter. And plus, even when I worked in corporate America, that's probably why I don't anymore. I'll be like, nah, I can't come in, help me. I feel like I can do it.
I feel like if I worked at in a corporate space, I would absolutely flex my right to be like, I'm unavailable at this
Melanie,
time.
you would not. You would
You
get
always
fired.
flex
You
your
would
right.
not work.
I would be like,
you are not a corporate America.
but I know the extreme alternative of being like, oh, you have to get on a flight 12 o'clock right now, go right now, or you're not going to get that opportunity to record with or be at or be seen or like. I would absolutely like, I eat dinner with my family. I'm taking a lunch today. Do not ask me for shit. Like, because I understand the other side of it. But I get like when you're in it, it's hard to set that.
And that it's not easy for everybody. It's not easy for every, like, I think everything that y'all are saying is right. And we have to set boundaries, period. Like that's like one of the greatest lessons we can learn as grownups, as mamas, as wives, like set them boundaries. But it doesn't mean it's easy.
No.
And so it's why it's important to like recognize what are your, how do people word this? Like, what is
non-negotiables?
Yeah. What are your non-negotiables? Like, what are you fighting for? Yeah. Like, what are your goals?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think it's important to recognize, to your point, that your goals change.
Yeah. Yes.
Your goals change.
Boom.
Like,
and that's okay.
Like you at one point were like, yo, I'm in this, I'm in high pace, I'm there. And all of a sudden it was like, ooh, I don't know if I want to be in there like that anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
And it shifts. And children can absolutely do that for you.
Yeah.
They can.
In some ways that are really great, and some ways that may, cause some pause for like, is this the best decision for me? You just don't know. And something that I think keeps coming back, and especially too, and I see it a lot in my industry, in a creative space, is that like, there's this balance of, am I going to raise my kids, or am I paying someone else to raise my kids?
Yeah.
When you have a demanding career,
right,
and then you have someone who you can afford to pay to watch your children so that you can go and be and do what it is that you want to do. And this like juggling act of the guilt that comes with that. Because sometimes it's like, whoa, thank God I have help. I get to go do da da da.
Yeah.
But then other things are just like, oh, I missed you crawl for the first time. Or somebody else got to take you to the park on the day that like and what an empty feeling that can leave you feeling sometimes, But I think that also comes from understanding what is the season you're in.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think about my parents. My parents literally left my brother in Guyana to immigrate to another country to build a life so that they could build a life for him without him before sending for him to come. Like, and made a decision to leave him in another country for a season for the long-term goal. Right. And I go back to thinking about that, and I'm like, it turned out fine. Actually, it was amazing. Like, thank God they did that, because we all benefited from that decision. But if you bring that up to my parents to this day, they will cry.
Aww.
Because they cannot bear the thought of, in the time they were like, we have to do. But
Right.
when they bring it up, they're like, leaving
It's so
Johan in Guyana
traumatic.
was when he came and he was just, it was different. Like, I mean, they could cry talking about it now. And I think that's the struggle that I think we suffer in silence sometimes.
Yeah.
What
That's
a juggling act
That's
it
a
is
whole
to
word.
be
Yes.
professional,
Yes.
to be parents, to be people trying to find our way in life, fulfill ourselves, fulfill our children, not fuck them up while fucking ourselves up at the same time. Like it's so crazy. It's just such a dance all the time.
All the time.
It also depends. Like it's equally like what you said. When I think about Toby, the singer, rapper,
Toby and Fat.
Nwigwe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And him, how he was just doing an interview and he was like, I don't do anything unless my kids can come. He brings his in contractually.
Yes.
Yes.
He was shooting what is it? The
show, the FX show.
Not Terminators. No, not the FX show, the other one. It brought his family.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of people would get that opportunity and be like, I gotta go make this opportunity for me and I'm gonna come back. But his mindset is no, like my career will be centered around my family, no matter what opportunity. I don't care if it's the Grammys, if it's Terminator, if it's Transformers, if it's this, I'm going to bring my kids and my wife and we're all going to be on set. And this is just part of like, if you want me, this is a part of who I am.
Right.
So I think it's also about how you create your life with him. For me and Chia, we're very much like that. Like I'm in my mind that my kids are coming with me no matter what I'm doing. Like we just gonna be on set shooting the show or whatever.
Unless
like,
she don't want them there.
Unless I don't want them
But
there.
that's what I'm saying. That's the dance.
But that's freedom. What I'm saying. But then some people would look at that like your kids need a regular life and they need to go to school and so it's all about like how you view life,
Right?
What you think is important for you and your children, and then fulfilling that. If you want your kids to have this experience and go to school and you're like, okay, I'm going to go to work because I'm not disrupting them. They didn't choose this career. Then you have to make ways to make that happen. Versus if you're like, no, my kids are going to follow me and we're going to travel the road and do whatever, then they do that. It's really about what brings you joy and what makes you feel fulfilled as a parent. Because I don't want my kids going to a regular school. We already know this is why I'm homeschooled them. Because I want us to all go everywhere together. Like the Partridge Family.
I think it's so interesting. You said there are a couple of things here that really resonated with me. One, when you all were talking about, the difference in industries, right? Versus corporate versus being more in a creative industry or even like your own self kind of propelled progression in your career. I've been very fortunate to have a best friend who's in a completely kind of opposite scenario. Entrepreneur, brand building, creating the show and everything that's come along with Black Love. And it has helped me think about how I qualify when I go, okay, I'm going to jump and say how high, because, there are those moments where it's like you can, record in the studio with this person if you get on this plane in an hour and get there, and you kind of have to be like, all right, it's not good for my situation, but it's good for my situation. Right. And so I've similarly seen that with her, right? Having to be like, let's talk about it, having twins and going right back to work, and
it's crazy.
3 weeks,
and not just being what it was, because it's like, this is also my baby that I'm creating. Right. And so I constantly am going, there are times when I'm going, okay, Sterling, like, I know I said I wasn't traveling again for another 3 weeks, but then this thing came up that's like probably a thing I should go do. And like, I'm gonna go do it. Right. We're gonna figure it out. But I gut check that. And I'm like, because I've had the ability to reflect on, we kind of use the term like no one's dying on the table with my team. I'm constantly like, we don't like save lives. We sell chips. Right. And so I'm kind of like, we're gonna be okay, even if nothing we have to get done gets done. Like the worst is going to happen is we're going to get fired, but like the business is going to keep running.
That's just one thing.
That's bad, but it's not someone.
Kids will be
no
all
one's
right.
losing their life, right? But there are certain times I'm like, okay, no one's like dying on the table. This is actually really important.
Yeah.
So I think that's been really helpful. And then I also feel like, to the point of like bringing your kids along or your family or, doing things in the way that suits you better. I've been so grateful. I will say the company I work at has really created an environment, one, by prioritizing diverse representation in leadership, including women, moms, even like hands-on parents, whether you're a dad or a mom, whatever that dynamic looks like, we have people bring their kids to work because my kid's school is closed or, bring their kids along to an event we're doing.
Right.
My CMO, my previous CMO, she was, an incredibly high powered, role, but she brought her kids to a major activation at All Star. And we all saw that. And it gave, what the gift she gave us was that permission to be like, oh, I could see myself being a CMO now with my kids around. Right.
Yes.
Versus, doing things in the way, like, does she have help? 100%.
Right.
Is her husband is super hands-on and supportive, right? But like that to me was something that, as I heard you talk about, Toby, like I really reflected on that the more I see it.
Yeah.
And it's really important.
Super
and I want
important.
to do it as well, because I know in my role, I can be giving that gift to other parents who are watching to see how I'm making the similar decisions.
And it's a gift to your child, because Amira works on sets now and stuff because we've been taking her with us everywhere since she was a child. Now she goes on set with her aunt for like movies and music videos and all this stuff. And she's gaining new access, and she just has a better business sense at 13 than I did. I sent them an email that she sent her teacher, child, and she BCC'd me on it. Like, per my last email with this screenshot, like just wrote a whole professional adult email
I love it.
that I didn't learn how to write. So I feel like, there is a benefit to including your children in your work, whether it's going on tour, whether it's a business meeting or whatever. They're picking up these things and being able to, and it helps your children understand what you're doing. They just think you're away from them.
You're just doing your way.
Now my kids fully understand when mommy's not with me, she's actually working. She's just not choosing to be away from me.
Right.
Like, and what work goes into that. And they have more of a respect for it.
I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah.
How many of you had the option, right? Or even have the option now, if you wanted to go to a more structured corporate scenario, whether that is working at a label or working for a brand or working at a network, right? Or a studio. Like, what continues to make you not do that, make you not decide to do that?
I'll be honest. Every day I ask my husband, I'm like, you want to hire me as your assistant? Pay me a salary and give me some structured hours, because this by the seat of my pants shit is exhausting. I'll be honest with you. Like, there's a part of me that loves the idea of structure.
Yeah.
Because like, here, these are the hours I'm available. These are the hours I'm available. This is when I'm expected to be on the clock. And then after that, I'm done. Don't talk to me. I'm with my kids. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Like, I wish sometimes as a creative, and I think that's the thing that I'm at now. Now I'm in a place where I'm just like, okay, treat your life like you are a corporation.
Right.
Structure your hours for how you want to work.
I love that.
Yeah,
and
word.
then even in a creative space.
Why Ashley looking at me like,
You know why?
She getting a side eye around the microphone.
I heard her. I heard it. I felt
structuring
it.
my life like I am the CEO of my corporation, and these are my working hours, and also giving that to my children as well. Hey, I'm unavailable during this time. I got to take a call. You got to play by yourself. You got to whatever it is.
Yeah.
In doing that and setting the structure. I think for me, I'm just too far gone to have anybody tell me what to do with my life. Like, I can't, again, have somebody come to me and tell me, you have 59 minutes for lunch today. I'll be like, bitch, goodbye. I have to go. Sorry about that. Sorry. Okay. Let me tell you about the time I took myself to Paris for a week so I could eat lunch by myself. I'm not on your clock. 59 minutes. So, this is a thing. Like, for me, that has been my journey. I'm 40 years old. Like, not to say that I could never, I'm not above it. It would have to be the right situation.
Yeah.
But I think I still have so much to create for my own entity of my own personal fulfillment creative corporation. That's what stops me from saying, hey, I'll take that, or I'll just do that. I'm still very passionate about what I've yet to create. And so that's what keeps me, I think, loving the flexibility of my current career situation.
Yeah.
That's Melanie, by the way.
Okay.
No, we know.
My truthful answer is I love money. I'm a Capricorn. I love money.
I just want to pause because I send her a meme almost twice a week being like, a Capricorn getting a bag, a Capricorn closing a deal. It's just the funniest thing.
I love money, and I will work. I had 2 jobs in high school. That's how much I love money.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like to not have money. That is just my jam. So honestly, for me, I got into the creative space because my husband I hate saying told me I could, but like, that's just the truth. Was like, you don't have to work anymore. You can follow your dreams. Like got me a laptop, was like, go right, do your thing, figure out your life, baby girl, because you are miserable. Like that was really it. He was like, I'm gonna pay all the bills. You just figure yourself out because we don't like unhappy Ashley. Because that was it. And so from there, I was like, as long as I'm making money, but he even knew like when he first said that, I stopped working and I was like, this entrepreneurial life ain't for me. I need that check. So I started working again because I was like, I need to know the money's going to flow. And then when I started getting more comfortable and figuring out a lot of different ways to make money, because I literally am like that now, like have 10 different random jobs. Yeah. And even when I moved here, I still was working at Ergo Baby. Shout out to Ergo Baby. I was doing my influencing and I was still working for them, running their Instagram account because they were like, we're going to give you a certain amount of money every month. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to do that job. And I'm going to be a mom and I'm going to homeschool my kids and I'm going to do an influencer job. Just because that is what motivates me. Like I like, and it's not the money, obviously it's the freedom that comes with that. Right. Like I just didn't grow up with a lot and I don't like asking people for money. I don't like not having, and I will work at McDonald's if I have to, if it means that I'm gonna get paid. Like, and nothing, there's jobs are not beneath me. Right. For me, it's like, let me get this check and have money and be able to provide for my family, and I'll create a way to do something creative. So like, I hate working in corporate America. Like that is not my personality, clearly. Like me working in a call center, answering phones, they were always pulling me in the office like, now Ashley.
We're gonna need to work on work on your tone.
Yes.
Tone. You sound a bit exasperated.
Yeah,
with the
you sounded annoyed when the customer was telling you they got in a car accident. But did you die?
Your feedback surveys.
Yeah,
feedback surveys are not.
It wasn't great. But I will work, honey. Just don't get on my nerves. But no, for me, it's just more about like, if I have, because my husband was able to provide for us financially, it allowed me to be creative and it put us in that position. But if he wasn't doing that, then I would, because someone, or if we're both, in the grind and we know where it's coming from and we're good, like you both are in the grind, you're both entrepreneurs, but it's a little more like established. If we get to that place, then great. But my husband managed a rap group. He still has another creative job. He is not letting go of his day job. Yeah. That's where our benefits come from. Yeah. That's where, like everything. And that's a guaranteed check because this world we live in is very fickle. That's true. So it's like, we have kids.
Yeah.
That's
stability.
A lot of
them.
Stability. You have a lot of
we got
kids.
a lot of kids.
Y'all got a lot of kids.
Y'all are Jamaican, basically.
Right.
Yeah,
I got 4 children. They work 3 jobs. I want to work 6 jobs.
I was 5% Jamaican.
You see? It all makes sense.
So true. So true.
Oh,
that's
man.
funny.
Okay, my turn.
Yes, Codie Lee.
I'm actually going to say something that Melanie said.
Oh.
I'm going to mess it up because I'm really good at letting things impact me, but then not wording them appropriately afterward.
Okay, that's
But
fine.
you said I'm so passionate about things I have yet to create.
Yes.
And that's really it for me because this shit is hard.
It's hard.
I'm not even going to look over at Crystal when I say that.
Crystal's just shaking her head.
But yeah, no comments. But yeah, I mean, that's really what keeps me here is that like I've created something that like has had an impact on people.
Yes. Yeah.
That they tell me, and I say they, like literally this conversation, like they tell me like if it goes away, like that will impact people. And so that keeps me in it. I mean, not to say I'm not super passionate about it, but like that reminder.
Yeah.
And then the desire to like continue to build within the Black love universe. And what that means and all the places that we can touch and all of the people, places that need to see joyful, loving Blackness. And so that's why I am where I am. Because if it was something else, if I was creating something else, it wouldn't be the same. Right. But for this brand that I've created, that's why I continue my entrepreneurial journey.
I just think it's important to share that we're all married. We all have partners who have an income. And prior to being married, well, not you, but prior to being married, not Melanie, but me and you worked a regular job. I don't want to say use the word regular, but you worked a corporate job.
A job with a salary.
A job with a salary, as did I. And so I do think it's important for people creatives out there too, to remember, like, number one, you can work a corporate job and be creative at the same time.
Yes.
And slowly transition, like deaf to the starving artist theory. Like, I don't believe in that. I feel like you can work and be creative because there's so many things that I wanted to do as well, but I decided to have a child at 24. And so it wasn't just about me. Before her, I was living in New York with 3 other people in a 3-bedroom apartment above a bodega, living my best life and did not care, and had 2 jobs and was fine with that. Like one was creative. I taught at a school and in another one, I worked at a restaurant and I was just like, I'm gonna work and figure it out. But I think it's important to remember that you are listening to 4 women who are married who have dual incomes.
Right,
and so
right,
I don't
right.
want people feeling that like, I just want to quit and follow my dreams. Like, yeah, you could do that, but there's nothing wrong
Like
with
when Beyonce was out here
Right.
talking about release your job.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Don't release
Yeah.
your job.
Right, unless you got
Unless
another
you got
check.
another
Let me tell you,
job.
my husband texts me immediately. He's like, Beyonce's not talking to you.
Not talking to you.
She's not talking to you. She don't know you.
Oh my
Do
god.
Do not release your
Right.
job.
There's nothing wrong with working to follow your dreams and being
No.
creative. Like, there's no shame in that at all.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of
Yeah.
creative corporate jobs like what you have.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I sit on a very non-traditional corporate team in the sense that we're an agency, a creative agency inside the company.
Yeah.
And so I am sitting alongside many creatives like yourselves, that are doing just what you said. They're on the front side of their careers, and they're very much leveraging that stable salary, et cetera, to be able to do some of the things they need to
yes.
invest the time to
Yep.
do to build their reels or their other creative kind of passions. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting. And I agree with you like so much. I mean, my husband also working at a very large multinational company in financial services, which is also like even more to me stability wise. Like we have 2 different kind of approaches and kind of career focus areas. So it makes it somewhat easier for me to be able to that point, take those boundaries, take my foot off the gas, right? Like I'm not,
Mhm.
I feel for single parents who are in the same, dynamic as me, making those very hard decisions, knowing, if we're being very, very honest, there are rooms that I'm not in because I'm home with my daughter
Yeah.
that will be catalytic to my career.
Up
Yeah.
1,000%.
In my next phase. And so, my pace is slowed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And being able to have a partner who our paces can either slow or one can ramp
Right,
up
right,
on
right.
the other is very helpful.
Yeah.
Word.
I have a friend,
Word.
Crystal, who is a single mom, and she's been working in corporate America since I've known her. And her parenting journey has always been very different from mine. I
Right.
remember she had to get a night sitter
Yes.
or overnight
Yeah.
babysitter
Yeah.
situation. And I was like, oh my God, like that's
Yeah.
wild. But she could not. And it was, if she didn't do that, like the hours that she had to work, because she worked in like this marketing company and they had like overnight stuff,
Yeah.
she wouldn't have been able to have that trajectory in her
Yeah.
career. So like, parenting just looks so different for everyone, and there's
does.
no right or wrong answer.
And allowing things to be a season,
Yeah.
but like with
Yeah.
focus and work, right?
For sure.
Like I think it can be very like challenging to feel like I'll never be home for my kid because I
Yeah.
have to do X, Y, and
Right.
Z. And it's like, if we focus right, if
Mhm.
we use the time with the night sitter, then we can buy ourselves, new opportunities
Yeah.
and new, so that we can change our
And
circumstances.
she did too. And now her kid is, she has different hours,
Yeah.
better job, and
Yeah.
like has more control.
But don't
Yeah.
for the people listening out there, don't let your story, if you don't like it, right? If you want to be doing something different, don't feel bound by exactly where you are now. You just have to be intentional. Which was also
Yeah,
the
I
theme
agree.
of Matilda, which was a very good movie.
Girl.
Your story can be
You and
rewritten
Matilda.
at any time.
Interesting.
And see.
And scene.
It's a good
No.
movie.
Well, and if I decide to just, do another jump off the corporate boat, I'll come join the Mama
Mama
Sen
Sen?
podcast
Come on
as like a 5th,
My friend.
It was the
husky
corporate
voice.
intel.
with a husky voice.
husky voice.
Oh, I'm glad we
Yes.
got to have Codie's bestie on.
Yay.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a dream come true.
Aw.
Thank you. And you all are very much inspiring mamas all across the world. We feel seen hearing all of these conversations and being a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Spoken like a true bestie.
This is my life. You guys see.
All right, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.